This person says, I hope that more books will have a comic book manga version as much as an animated adaptation. Okay, so this isn't really necessarily a spicy take, it's more just like a hope, a dream for books. I personally struggle with like comics and manga, so like that's not a dream of mine. You add pictures and words together and my brain is like, I can focus on one or the other, but not both. So kind of a waste for me personally, but I think it'd be cool. Especially the books that kids and teenagers love, they could have their comic book versions. I mean, that is one way that a lot of young people do get into reading, and I'm totally there for graphic novels being like a majority of what young people read. Like my nibblings kind of got into reading through graphic novels and they still love graphic novels. So yeah, it's a really great way for kids to like both as a gateway into reading and just reading in general, because I don't know if you know this, but there are words in them, so the kids are reading. They continue. I know it's not related to what I said earlier, but what I discovered before writing this comment is that Meglatar removed or privated her entire videos on her channel, and doesn't have a banner or profile photos. I wonder what happened to her and why. I guess she just kind of decided to step away, and my guess is that she just decided to step away from YouTube and writing, which is fine. You can make decisions like that for your life. If something is not bringing you joy, leave. That's like my #1 motto as I've gotten older. Does it bring me joy? No, I'm not doing it. Simple as that. It's very freeing. I recommend it. But I'm guessing that that's what happened, is she just wasn't getting fulfillment, wasn't getting joy out of that world anymore, and just stepped away from it. And, you know, good for her.
All right, so welcome to the deep dive, and today we are going to be taking a look at some online drama.
Oh, yeah.
Some YouTube drama, and this is a...
always a good time, right?
It is always a good time, yeah. So specifically, we have a commentary that we're looking at, and it is about Julian Greystoke and Persephone Diggen. And it's a really interesting commentary because it is like a character assassination of Julian.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they saying?
Oh man, they are they're saying that she is woke. They're saying that she is hateful and unable to handle different opinions.
Wow. So right at the bat, they're going pretty hard.
Yeah, it's intense, and they're using the term woke like as a slur, which is really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean that's something we've definitely seen more and more of online.
Yeah,
and it speaks to kind of like a certain segment of the internet that views any kind of progressive viewpoint as like this attack on their values.
Like their free speech is under attack. Yeah. And so this is a really fascinating example of that, and they get pretty specific about why they think Julian is woke.
Okay, what kind of evidence do they bring up?
So they actually point to a specific interaction that Julian had with Persephone. Yeah. And it was basically Julian telling Persephone to educate herself.
Ooh, condescending.
Yeah. And the commenter is like, see, this is textbook woke behavior.
Right. Assuming that everyone who disagrees with you is just ignorant.
Exactly. And needs to be like schooled or something.
Right.
So, and to make things even more interesting, this whole thing started because of a question about speedrunning.
Interesting.
And
what is speedrunning? I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, okay. So, full disclosure, I don't think the commenter knows what speedrunning is either. Right. And I don't even think Persephone knew.
All right. So this is like a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
It really is, yeah. And
so we have like drama. We don't even know what the drama is about. So what is speedrunning?
So speedrunning is basically when people try to finish video games like as fast as humanly possible. Oh. And often they do this by exploiting glitches and like finding all these weird shortcuts.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like this whole subculture of gamers who are just obsessed with like breaking games.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so
I could see how that could be controversial.
Right.
Some people might see that as ruining the game.
Exactly.
Like, you're not supposed to play it that way.
Yeah, and so maybe Julian's reaction to Persephone's question about speedrunning was coming from that place, you know?
Like a place of, she has a very specific way she thinks games should be played.
Right, and this person's coming in and like...
not respecting the game.
Asking about this thing that she might see as...
sacrilege.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so it's really interesting because...
So it's about more than just speedrunning. Then it's about...
It's about how we interpret online behavior, you know?
And like how our own personal biases color how we interpret the behavior of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, are we filling in the blanks with our own assumptions?
Yeah. Are we assuming things about Julian because of
the way she reacted?
The way she reacted because maybe we don't like speedrunners, or
right, or maybe
we have our own.
We think that games should be played a certain way.
A certain way, yeah. And we think that speedrunning is kind of
cheating.
Yeah, cheating, or like not in the spirit of the game.
Exactly.
And so that's coloring how we're interpreting
Julian's reaction.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got this speedrunning mystery. And now we have to figure out, you know, is Julian really this
woke monster?
Woke monster that the commenter is making her out to be.
Yeah, I mean, they're going pretty hard on her.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they keep drawing these parallels between Julian and another YouTuber named Hunter Avallone. And Hunter Avallone, this commenter believes was canceled for being too woke back in like 2020.
Okay, so they're seeing a pattern here.
Yes.
They're seeing Julian going down the same path.
Yeah, like they're worried that she's going to be the next Hunter Avallone.
Right, so it sounds like they're kind of projecting their own fears about cancel culture and political correctness onto the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they even say like, oh, I bet Julian would flip out if someone said they supported Donald Trump.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's like...
So they're making all these assumptions about her political beliefs based on...
like her reaction to speech.
Based on like one interaction.
Yeah, and it's creating this like us versus them mentality.
Right, which is so common online.
Yeah.
It's like...
and so unproductive.
It's like you're either with us or you're against us.
Yeah. And there's no room for...
nuance or like disagreement or like...
like civil conversation. Yeah.
Civil conversation. Like...
it's just like...
you're on the wrong side.
You're on the wrong side and that's it.
Yeah, and you should be...
it should be canceled.
Canceled and this is what's wrong with you.
Yeah, and it's interesting because they are criticizing Julian for blocking someone over a difference of opinion.
Right.
But then they go on to advocate for reporting her to YouTube.
Oh, wow, the irony.
To get her to stop this nonsense.
It's like they're saying you shouldn't silence people you disagree with, but we should totally try to silence you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's classic. That's classic online hypocrisy.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
And it really just highlights the
double standard.
The hypocrisy of
that often online debates. Yeah, online debates where it's like people want to champion free speech, but only for people they agree with.
Yeah. Exactly. So we've established that this commenter is not a fan of Julian.
Definitely not.
And they see her as this woke villain.
Yeah, they're painting her as like the enemy.
But they don't stop there.
Oh, no.
They go on to like paint this really unflattering picture of Julian's personality and like her communication style.
Yeah, how so?
They use some really loaded language. Like they talk about her darkness of abject hatred.
Whoa.
And they compare her to like a raging storm.
Okay, that's pretty...
it's intense.
Intense.
Like, it's like they can't even fathom that she might have...
genuine reasons.
For
being upset.
For reacting the way she did.
Right. They're just like...
yeah, it's like...
she's just pure evil.
She's just a...
this is who she is.
Yeah, she's just this hateful...
this is her essence.
Yeah, exactly. And it brings us back to the speedrunning incident because they're framing it as like Persephone innocently asked a question.
Right.
And Julian just like went ballistic.
Went nuclear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't have the full context.
We don't.
We only have the commenter's side of the story.
Right. We only have their interpretation.
Yeah. And it's clearly biased.
Clearly biased.
Against Julian.
Against Julian, yeah.
So we need to like dig a little deeper and try to understand.
Try to figure out why this speedrunning thing.
Yeah, why is this such a trigger for her?
Yeah, what is it about speedrunning?
It's like the key.
That's setting her off.
To unlocking this whole puzzle.
Exactly. And to do that, we need to take a closer look at the commenter themselves.
Their biases.
Their biases.
And the language they're using to paint this.
To paint this narrative.
Narrative of Julian as...
of Julian as this evil...
yeah, this woke, hateful figure. Okay, I'm hooked.
All right, let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
You know, it's funny. The commenter seems really fixated on Julian's age.
Yeah.
Like, they keep bringing up the fact that she's almost 40.
I know. It's like...
and they imply that because of that, like, her behavior is somehow immature.
Yeah, like you're supposed to magically transform once you hit 40.
Right, like you just become this, like, super chill...
Zen master.
Zen master, yeah, who never...
never gets upset.
Never gets upset.
Yeah.
never has any strong opinions about anything.
Yeah, like you're just supposed to float through life.
Right, just agreeing with everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, come on, that's not how real life works.
No.
Like, have you seen some of the comment sections online?
Oh my.
Like, there are plenty of adults.
Plenty of grown adults.
Who are acting like they're still teenagers.
I know. It's like age doesn't equal maturity.
Right, exactly.
Like, just because you're older doesn't mean you've
got it all figured out.
Yeah, that you've got it all figured out, and you're never gonna get riled up about anything. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, honestly, if anything, I'd expect someone with more life experience.
Yeah.
To have, like, stronger opinions about things they care about.
Because they've seen more.
They've seen more. They've experienced more.
Yeah.
They've had more time to form their belief.
Exactly. And plus, we're only getting like one side of the story here.
Right. We don't know Julian's side.
Exactly. We don't know what she's been through.
Maybe there are things in her past that make her particularly sensitive to certain topics.
Right.
Or like ways of communicating.
Or maybe she's had really bad experiences.
Yeah.
With people who
she sees as condescending.
Exactly. Like who've talked down to her in the past.
Right.
So maybe this educate yourself comment that she made to Persephone.
The one the commenter found so offensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Like, educate yourself.
It can be condescending.
It can sound condescending.
Especially online.
Especially in like the heat of the moment.
Yeah. Like when you're in an argument with someone.
Yeah. It's like, you're saying, I'm smarter than you.
Yeah. You're stupid. Go look it up.
Go read a book.
Yeah.
But is it possible that she meant it genuinely?
That's what I was thinking.
Cool. Like, hey, I don't have time to explain this whole thing to you.
Yeah, like go do some research.
Go do your own research and then we can talk.
Exactly.
I mean, intent is so tricky online, right?
It really is.
Because you're missing all those like nonverbal cues.
Right.
Like tone of voice, facial expressions, body language.
Like you don't know if someone's smiling.
Right.
Or if they're like...
Or if they're being sarcastic.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's easy for things to be misconstrued.
So easy.
Yeah.
And the commenter doesn't even consider that possibility.
Right. They just jump straight to
like judging her character.
Yeah. They're like, oh, she's arrogant. She thinks she's intellectually superior.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to psychoanalyze her.
I know. It's like armchair psychology.
Yeah.
Based on one comment.
Based on one comment. And they keep using this really dramatic language too.
Oh, yeah.
About like
about her hatred?
Her hatred.
Yeah. Remember that darkness of abject hatred line?
I know. It's so over the top.
But it's effective, right?
It is.
It creates this image.
Like she's this evil villain.
Yeah. Like she's consumed by this darkness.
Yeah.
And it shows you how much the commenter has bought into this narrative.
Yeah. Like how invested they are in this conflict.
Yeah. It's not just a disagreement anymore.
It's like a personal crusade.
Yeah. It's like they're on a mission.
A mission to expose Julian.
To expose Julian for the monster they believe she is.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like, can they even see her
as a human being? As
a complex human being.
With her own valid perspective?
Yeah, like maybe she has good reasons for feeling the way she does.
Right, maybe she's not just this
woke
monster who hates everyone who disagrees with her.
Exactly.
And that's where things get really concerning.
Yeah.
Because the commenter then goes on to suggest reporting Julian to YouTube.
Wait, are they serious?
Yeah, like they want to get her channel taken down.
Oh, wow.
Or something like that.
That's intense.
It's not explicitly stated.
Yeah.
That seems to be the implication.
Like they want her silenced.
Yeah, they're basically saying, like, if you see her doing this again, report her.
But isn't that like
a form of harassment?
Yeah, like trying to get someone deplatformed.
Exactly.
Because you don't like their opinions.
Yeah. It's a really tricky area. It raises all these questions about free speech.
And censorship.
Yeah, like where's the line?
Where do you draw the line?
Between legitimate criticism and just trying to silence someone?
Exactly.
No.
It's a tough one.
It is.
Because on the one hand, you want to protect people
from harassment.
From genuine harassment and abuse.
Right.
But on the other hand,
you don't want to create an environment where people are afraid to express themselves.
Exactly. And it's even more complicated when you consider that the commenter is framing this
as like a moral duty.
Yeah, like a moral obligation to report Julian.
It's like they're saying, I'm not trying to censor anyone. I'm just trying to stop this bad person.
From spreading their harmful ideas.
From spreading their toxic ideology.
But who gets to decide what's harmful?
Exactly.
Like, what if someone thinks your ideas are harmful?
Right. It's a very slippery slope.
It is.
And it really highlights the dangers of this cancel culture mentality.
Yeah.
Where anyone who expresses a viewpoint that's deemed unacceptable can be targeted.
For like social ostracism.
Yeah, and professional ostracism.
And they can lose their job.
Lose their platform.
Their friends.
Their reputation.
Scary.
It is. It's a scary trend.
It is. And this whole situation just makes you think about how we approach conflict online.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy for things to escalate.
So easy.
Especially when strong emotions are involved.
Right. And when you only have a limited perspective.
Yeah, like we do with this commentary.
Exactly.
It's crucial to be aware of our own biases.
And to avoid jumping to conclusions.
Excellent.
Because we've only heard one side of the story.
Right.
And while the commenter presents a compelling case against Julian, we can't forget that there's always more to this story.
Then meets the eye.
That meets the eye, yeah.
You know, it's wild how this, like, one little disagreement online turns into this whole big, like...
Oh, yeah?
Commentary, you know, full of like accusations.
It's like it takes on a life of its own.
It does, yeah, and judgments, and it's like
a snowball rolling downhill.
Yeah, it's like a hall of mirrors.
Ooh, that's a good analogy.
You know, it's like you can't even see clearly.
No, you just get these distorted reflections.
Exactly.
And you lose sight of like what actually happened.
And in this case, we're like missing a huge reflection.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Julian's side of the story.
Exactly. It's like, what does she have to say about all of this?
They don't know.
We don't know, yeah.
Like, what would she say about the speedrunning thing?
Right, or the educate yourself comment.
Yeah.
We're just left to speculate.
It's like we only have half the puzzle pieces, and we're trying to like force them together.
Yeah, and that's where we get into trouble. Because we start filling in the gaps with our own assumptions.
Right. Like maybe the commenter has had bad experiences with people who they see as woke.
No.
And they're just like projecting that onto Julian.
Totally. Like they see her as this like representative of everything they hate about like
woke culture.
Woke culture, yeah.
And so everything she does.
It's filtered through that lens.
Exactly. It's
like if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Yeah. If you're convinced that woke culture is this big evil force,
right,
then you're going to see it everywhere.
Yeah. You're going to see it in everything.
Yeah.
And you're going to interpret everyone's actions
through that lens.
It's the lens, yeah.
And it really just highlights how subjective online discourse can be.
It's subjective, yeah.
Like it's not really about objective truth.
No, it's more about like whose story is more convincing.
Yeah, or like whose story like resonates.
Right.
With you more.
And the stories that tend to resonate the most are the ones that tap into our fears.
Yeah.
Our anxiety.
In this case, the commenter's fear of being silenced, being like canceled.
Right.
Which is ironic considering they want to report Julian.
Exactly. It's like the very thing they're afraid of.
They're doing.
They're advocating for.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a classic case of like
projection.
Projection, yeah.
And it shows how easy it is to get caught up in these cycles of like
outrage
and judgment.
Yeah, where it's like
you're so focused on being right that you lose sight of like
everything else, the bigger picture.
Yeah, the nuances, humanity,
yeah,
the situation.
Okay, so if we like zoom out for a second, what are like the key takeaways here?
What can we learn from this whole mess?
Yeah.
Well, I think first and foremost,
it's
a reminder to be mindful of our own biases.
Right.
Like when you're reading something online, especially something like this commentary.
Ask yourself, what's influencing this person's perspective?
Like, what's their agenda?
Yeah, what are they leaving out?
Because everyone is the hero of their own story.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
Right.
We all have our own narratives.
Yeah.
And we tend to see ourselves in the best possible light.
Exactly.
Even when we're doing things that are
not so great.
Yeah, not so great.
And so it's important to remember that everyone involved in these online conflicts is a real person.
With their own complexities, their own motivations.
And it's so easy to forget that online.
It is so easy.
Yeah, it's easier to just reduce people
to a label.
To like a stereotype.
To a caricature.
Yeah.
Like woke or hateful. Hateful, yeah.
And those labels just like shut down nuance.
Totally.
And they make it harder to see the other person.
As a human being with their own
like feelings and experiences.
Thoughts, feelings, experiences, yeah.
So how do we navigate this like
minefield?
This online minefield?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Without like constantly
blowing ourselves up.
Yeah, blowing ourselves up and like getting into fights.
It's not easy.
It's not.
But I think it starts with intellectual humility.
Okay.
Like remembering that we don't have all the answers.
Right.
That we might be wrong.
That's a hard one.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially online.
Especially online where everyone's like
an expert.
Not expert.
And they have to be right.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah, but I think being willing to admit that we don't know everything.
That we could be wrong.
Yeah, that other people might have valid perspectives.
Yeah, even if we disagree with them.
Even if we find them like totally reprehensible.
Yeah.
It's about being open to learning, to challenging our own assumptions.
And to engaging in good faith dialogue.
Yeah, like actually trying to understand.
Even with people.
Even with people we hate.
We disagree with.
Yeah, even with people we hate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hardest part, right? Like when you're scrolling through Twitter.
And you see something that just like makes your blood boil.
I know.
It's so tempting to just like
fire off that angry tweet.
Yeah, to just like lash out.
Yeah.
But I think if we can resist that urge.
Yeah.
And instead try to like
take a breath.
Yeah, take a breath and like try to understand where that person is coming from.
Yeah.
It can make a big difference.
Like we have a choice.
We do.
We can contribute to the noise.
Or we could try to build bridges.
And have more productive conversations.
Exactly.
And even small changes in our own behavior
can make a difference.
Yeah.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is.
If we can be more mindful, more empathetic.
More willing to listen.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make the internet a slightly less terrible place.
It's a lofty goal.
It is.
But I think it's worth striving for.
I agree.
So next time you're about to like unleash your fury on someone online, take a breath.
Ask yourself,
is this actually helping?
Is this contributing to the conversation or am I just adding to the noise?
Food for thought.
It is.
So well, on that note,
we'll
leave you to ponder.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.